Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And what you're seeing on screen is a new Verizon site build in progress in my market, El Paso, Texas. This site is part of the 10, now 15 new sites for the military. But this one also, probably two of the sectors are gonna face the city portion of the city that are going to help offload some of that traffic as well. And what I wanted to also discuss in this video, not just, it's good to see that Verizon is building these new sites, and this is the third or fourth one that they've already been building. So they have several more to go to add, but they're working. So as you're for the future, as you're designing and building your network now, densification is going to be even that much more important. Not necessarily to offload, right? Offloading, of course, is an important part because each sector can only handle so many users. And as usage increases, perhaps your market share is increasing, you're going to need densification, but you're also going to need densification for several other factors. And I truly think Verizon is already designing and building the network based on future outlooks of where the industry is going. It was said a few years ago that all things that can connect will connect to the wireless networks, laptops, Vision Pro, you name it. At some point, it all will have cellular modems. But as developers develop new 5G killer apps, and as other apps that we've been using, they get better and they find other ways to utilize the networks, the carriers have to build for that. And they have to keep in mind that, yes, downlink is important, but uplink matters too. And it will matter even more as we go through the rest of this decade and into the future. And as most of you that have been following the channel know, uplink cuts out before downlink ever does. So yes, when you're further from the cell, you might still have uplink, but you're going to lose carrier aggregation on uplink first. You're going to lose QAM first. You're going to lose all that first the further you get from the cell site. That's going to lower the performance significantly of uplink, and that could interfere with whatever the next big app is, right? Verizon recently announced slicing for video calling. Video calling requires uplink. And there's going to be other apps that require uplink. And that's going to be even a bigger priority moving forward. Uplink is going to play a factor in this. And that's where densification plays a factor. The more sites you have tighter together, the better the uplink will perform as you move through those sites. And it also plays a factor for FWA as well. You want to sell FWA, you have to have the uplink. There could be an area where you have plenty of downlink, even like 2 or 3 miles from the cell site, or even further, depending on the area. So then you go and say, okay, I can offer FWA to this area. I have plenty of downlink, but then the uplink is not there. So then they struggle with uplink task. So now you might lose that customer on FWA, not because of the downlink, but because of the uplink, right? As you're trying to upload videos, maybe you're trying to upload 4K videos. All of that is going to take you forever if you don't have the right amount of uplink. Even sometimes, depending on the video, if you have the higher uplink, it still takes a long time. So just imagine even with less. So that's why I feel densification is important, looking at everything, right? Yes, we know densification gets you better, cleaner signal, better SINAR. We understand that, but it also gets you better uplink. So that's something that is going to be looked at in the future. And Verizon, as you can see on screen, is continuing to build that densification. They're not taking their foot off. They're not. right? I'm saying that sincerely. They're not taking their foot off, right? Just comparing it to T-Mobile, they've touched most of their sites over the years. They've started in 2020, right? And now T-Mobile is kind of at the point where the build is mature. Now they can start throwing in the 5G advanced, the slicing features at scale because they have so many of their sites modernized and upgraded. Yes, they still have sites that need to be upgraded. Some, I'm told, are even still on LTE, but majority of their sites are upgraded and done and ready to go. So now T-Mobile, I don't want to say they're relaxing, but they're kind of like, hey, let's reap the fruits of our labor. You know, we put in a ton of work. We invested a ton of money. Let's get these new technologies off the ground. Let's get voice over NR in there. Let's optimize further. Let's if we need new equipment to squeeze every megahertz out of our spectrum, let's do that first before we do anything else. And while that's working, right? Recently, we had commentary from Mike Seaver that they're only using like 60% of their spectrum in the mid band. And some people have messaged me saying they're just damage controlling at this point, which I would not advise for them to do that too often because we're seeing Verizon's on the move. So yeah, 60% of mid band, so they have more refarming to do, more stuff to tap into. But one thing you can't get away from is the densification, right? If you're lacking densification in some areas, there's no amount of squeezing every ounce efficiency out of the network that's going to fix uplink. Verizon is putting their heads down and they're working. They're continuing to deploy sites, densification, massive densification, even for my market, right? So I can just imagine in other markets where they have high share, a bigger top 100, 150 market, I'm sure they're going about it the same way. And even more so in 2025, 2026. And the fact that they're willing to invest capital for FWA, that should bring forth further densification as well, because they know uplink is important to the FWA piece. It goes hand in hand. Right now, if we're talking fiber symmetrical, do you necessarily need that kind of uplink? It depends, right? See, I've seen uplink 6, 7, 800 megabits on the uplink. That's a lot, but still, in the future, uplink is going to matter in a big way, I feel, and the carriers should be taking notice and taking advantage. And I feel Verizon right now is they're on a roll. They are on a roll, while T-Mobile is in let us relax and let us enjoy our network that we've built over the years, while they're in that mode, while AT&T is in the okay, we're going to touch every single site again and modernize mode, right? They need further densification too, arguably the most densification out of all the carriers. Verizon is like, hey, we did our Nokia rips very slowly. We've During that time we added Samsung C-band in those markets. They still have sites to rip in the on the Nokia side, but they're still densifying aggressively, right? And I know there's some markets where that may not be happening. I know there's markets where Verizon still has old, outdated sites, band 13 only sites. I get that, but they will get to those eventually, right? 70% of sites will have C-band by the end of the year. 80 to 90% towards the end of 25, early 26. That is a massive accomplishment for Verizon, in my opinion. It will set the tone for Verizon moving into the future. It's all going to be on the mid-band. All the fun is going to happen on mid-band. Yes, there's refarming where they're going to have to take away spectrum from LTE, move that to 5G. That will gradually happen. They have to do it. They can't just rely on just the C-band. They have to eventually tie other aggregation combos into that to allow C-band to reach further too and to help with that uplink situation as well. So they will have to do that. They will have to get their base off of LTE as much as possible. Yes, LTE will still exist, but it'll exist in a very small slice, just like when HSPA was cut down to 5 megahertz and all that spectrum was moved to LTE. This will be a very, very similar situation at the end of it. So Just wanted to talk about that a little in this video, and I mean that sincerely. Like, Verizon is really on the roll. The densification process it's a hard grind. It's not something that you can just do overnight. You have to get permit approvals. And I'm seeing this process play out in these areas, right? I'm seeing it from the very beginning. The contractor coming in, building the pole, then building the area where all the baseband and cabinets go. I'm seeing the company right now trenching the fiber. That's a grind. It's a very long time to do that. And then they're putting the baseband units first. They even have temporary backup electricity for the time being from Sunbelt. I'm seeing all that, and it's just a grind to build that kind of network there, and to even have the motivation to be that flawless is just it's just great to see, right? You want to have the best possible premium product. Verizon they're the ones doing it, and I know it's not happening and reflecting everywhere, but eventually they will get to those areas too, and it'll get better. But it's one hell of a network. I'll leave it at that. The others, they have some tweaking and additional stuff to do to really catch up to that. And I know it varies by market. AT&T might be more denser in some areas. T-Mobile is dense as well, because they have to build their grid on mid-band. But what Verizon is doing is, in my opinion, is next level. And looking at it from a mid-sized market like mine, I can't imagine it being any less in Chicago or New York, at least from a planning and a designing, right? It might not be there just right now, but as you go through the next couple years and C-band is an even bigger part of the network, they're going to build this. They're going to build this thing, and it didn't just start with the millimeter wave. It was really the LTE part where they had the least amount of spectrum per customer that got them to really build the densification that they needed to that part of the densification during that era, that was really for offloading. They really needed to offload big time because they didn't have the spectrum to support the customers they had. But now the densification is like, hey, you got the C-band, it reaches 3, 4, 5 miles and can still do a ton of megabits per second. So why are you densifying the way that you are? And that's when you look at, okay, uplink, slicing, FWA, all of that plays a factor, and then just being ready and prepared for whatever the next big use case could be. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Life. See y'all in the next one. Peace.